As a mail-order bride joke, they sent the ugly daughter, but the wealthy rancher found his perfect match. Elias Marlowe stood at the edge of his Martian ranch, eyes scanning the barren red horizon. The twin suns of Mars were low in the sky, casting long shadows over the metal structures and domed greenhouses he had built over the years. Elias had worked hard to make this place a home, far from Earth's crowded cities. He had wealth, land, and ambition, but there was one thing missing: a partner, someone to share the quiet Martian sunsets with. So, when the matchmaking agency promised to find him the perfect bride, Elias had been intrigued. The ad had sounded almost too good to be true. We find your ideal partner based on intelligence, skills, and compatibility. Appearance optional. For Elias, appearance was less important, at least, he told himself. But he had secretly hoped the agency would deliver someone glamorous, someone who could handle life on Mars and make social gatherings a little more interesting. The small transport ship descended slowly from the sky, kicking up clouds of red dust. Elias adjusted his jacket, tried to hide his nervousness, and waited. A ramp lowered with a hiss and a young woman stepped out. She was not what he expected. Lyra was of average height, with untidy dark hair, freckles across her nose, and clothes that seemed practical but not stylish. She carried herself with quiet confidence, but her appearance was far from the elegant images Elias had imagined when he thought about his perfect bride. Elias blinked. You must be Lyra." "Yes," she said with a calm smile. "And you must be Elias Marlowe. I've read all your files." Her voice was clear and steady, with a hint of amusement as if she already knew the thoughts running through his head. Elias cleared his throat. "Right, I mean, welcome to my ranch." The dust settled and Lyra stepped forward, scanning the sprawling land. "This is impressive. You've automated the irrigation system, but the soil quality near the western dome could be improved. I can help with that." Elias' eyebrows rose. She was speaking about soil, irrigation, and efficiency as if she had done it all before. There was something in her calm confidence that was intriguing. As they walked toward the main house, Elia's robotic assistants moved smoothly across the ranch. Lyra stopped to examine a drone that had been malfunctioning. In less than a minute, she had reprogrammed it and it buzzed back to life, obediently following her commands. Elias stared. "How did you?" "I have experience with robotics and terraforming," she said simply, as if it were the most normal thing in the world. They entered the main house, which was modern but functional. The living room had large windows overlooking the Martian landscape, and a fire glowed softly in the hearth. Elias gestured to the couch. "Make yourself comfortable." Lyra sat gracefully, folding her hands in her lap. "Thank you. I've reviewed your ranch layout, water sources, and livestock systems. I already have ideas for improvements." Elias laughed nervously. "You don't waste time, do you?" "Time is precious, especially on Mars," she replied. Over dinner, they spoke about many things. Mars, challenges, the isolation of the colony, the difficulty of keeping livestock alive in a harsh environment, and the dreams that had brought each of them here. Lyra listened attentively, occasionally asking a question that made Elias pause and think. Her intelligence was undeniable, and there was a warmth in her voice that made the conversation feel easy, even though he had been bracing himself for awkwardness. By the end of the evening, Elias admitted to himself that he had been wrong to judge her on appearance. Lyra had a sharp mind, a practical approach, and a quiet humor that he found refreshing. But there was still the matter of gossip. The colony would notice her looks and comment, and he wasn't sure he was ready for that. The next morning, Lyra stepped outside, examining the livestock and machinery. She moved with confidence, checking sensors, testing water pumps, and correcting small errors she noticed. She noticed everything from the angle of solar panels to the feed schedule of the robotic cows. One of the ranch hands, a burly man named Jerk, muttered to Elias, "She's different, not like any bride I've seen." Elias smiled faintly. Yes, she's different. Lyra noticed them whispering and walked over with a friendly smile. Good morning. Is there anything I should check first today? Jerk stumbled over his words. Just the new drone circuits, ma'am. She knelt beside the drone, examining its circuits with practiced hands. Within moments it sprang to life, moving along its route flawlessly. Jerk's jaw dropped. Wow, she's good. Elias chuckled. She's more than good, she's brilliant. As the days passed, Lyra proved herself indispensable. She designed a small water recycling system that reduced waste, repaired old equipment that had been abandoned for years, and even suggested changes to the greenhouse layout that increased crop yield. All of this impressed Elias, but what struck him most was her calm confidence. She never complained, never sought praise, and approached every problem with creativity and logic. The locals began to notice. At first, they whispered, judging her by her looks, calling her the ugly bride, a cruel joke meant to amuse others. But when her work began to save time, resources, and even lives, their opinions started to shift. Lyra's intelligence, humor, and courage began to shine brighter than any superficial standard of beauty. One evening, a dust storm approached. The red sky darkened as the winds picked up, howling across the plains. Lyra moved quickly, coordinating the robots, securing the livestock, and reinforcing the greenhouse domes. Elias watched her, impressed and slightly awed. She worked as if she had been born for this environment, never faltering, never panicking. When the storm finally passed, the ranch was intact. No machines were broken, no livestock lost, and Elias realized something. Lyra was not just capable, she was extraordinary. That night, as they stood on the porch watching the calm after the storm, Elias spoke softly. I underestimated you, Lyra smiled. Many people do at first. It's not always easy to see someone's true abilities immediately. Elias nodded, a smile creeping onto his face. Well, I see them now, and I think I'm lucky to have you here. Lyra's smile widened slightly. I think I'm lucky too. Mars is harsh, but it rewards those who can think, adapt, and work together. I like that about this place and about you. For the first time in a long while, Elias felt something he hadn't expected. Hope. Not just for his ranch or his wealth, but for the future, and for a partnership that went beyond appearances. The storm had passed, but something far more significant had begun. A partnership built on respect, intelligence, and shared dreams. Lyra may not have been the bride the agency had promised, but she was exactly the partner Elias didn't know he needed. And for the first time, he wondered, maybe the joke wasn't on him at all. The morning sun rose slowly over the red plains of Mars, casting a soft glow over Elias Marlowe's ranch. After the storm, everything had returned to normal, or as normal as life on a Martian ranch could be. Elias walked along the edge of his greenhouses, noticing the changes Lyra had already begun to implement. She had reorganized the water systems, improved soil efficiency, and even programmed the drones to monitor crop health automatically. Good morning, Elias, Lyra called cheerfully from the western dome, kneeling beside a plant whose roots she was carefully inspecting. Elias smiled, shaking his head in admiration. Morning. You've been busy already, I see. Busy is good, she replied, brushing her hair out of her face. There's always room for improvement, and time moves quickly here. Elias watched as she stood, adjusting sensors and checking the irrigation pipes. She moved with precision and confidence, as if the ranch itself were an extension of her mind. He realized, once again, that appearance had no bearing on capability. Lyra's talents were rare, perhaps unmatched in the entire colony. Do you want help with anything today? Elias asked. Lyra shook her head, smiling. Not yet. I like observing first, understanding the system fully. Then I can make changes. Elias nodded, intrigued. He had always relied on machines and his own knowledge to run the ranch, but Lyra's approach was different. She looked at the bigger picture, thinking ahead and finding opportunities that others would have missed. By mid-morning, the ranch hands had arrived. Jerk and two others looked skeptical when Lyra asked them to follow her instructions. "We've always done it this way," Jerk muttered. "Sometimes tradition slows progress," Lyra replied calmly. "If we can save water and increase crop yield, isn't it worth trying something new?" The men exchanged doubtful glances but eventually followed her instructions. Within hours, the changes were evident. Water consumption had dropped, and sensors indicated healthier soil and plants. Even the robotic livestock moved more efficiently with her new programming adjustments. Jerk scratched his head. "I'll be honest, I didn't think it would work, but it does. You're something else." Lyra smiled, patting a drone as it hovered beside her. "We all have strengths. Mine happens to be this. Yours may be elsewhere." Elias watched this interaction quietly. He was learning more about Lyra with every passing day. Her confidence was not arrogance, but a natural assurance built on knowledge and skill. It reminded him of why humans, despite all their flaws, could adapt and thrive in the most challenging environments. Later that day, Elias received a communication from the Colony Council. They were planning a trade mission to the northern outpost and asked him to bring some of his livestock. Elias agreed but immediately thought of the logistical challenges. The northern outpost was hundreds of kilometers away, and Mars' unpredictable terrain made travel risky. "I can help plan the route," Lyra offered, reading over the communication. "I can map safe paths, calculate fuel and water requirements for the drones and vehicles, and even set up emergency protocols in case of sandstorms." Elias raised an eyebrow. "You really do everything, don't you?" "Not everything," she replied with a sly smile, "just the important things." Over the next few days she worked tirelessly. She examined every vehicle, checked every drone, and mapped the safest paths across the Martian plains. When Elias tried to help, she gently redirected him, valuing efficiency over pride. The ranch hands who had once doubted her now followed her instructions without hesitation. They began to respect her, not just for her skills, but for her calm demeanor and logical thinking. One afternoon, while she was inspecting a water pump near the eastern dome, Lyra noticed something unusual. The pressure readings fluctuated in a pattern that didn't match normal operation. She traced the problem and discovered a small crack in the pipe that could have led to a serious leak if left unchecked. Elias arrived moments later, wiping sweat from his forehead. "What did you find?" "Potential disaster," she said simply, showing him the crack. "If we hadn't noticed this soon, a large section of the crops would have been damaged. I've already ordered the replacement parts from the colony supply and programmed the drones to monitor the repair." Elias shook his head, impressed. "You've saved us a lot of trouble. Again." "Trouble is just a problem waiting for a solution," Lyra replied. Word of her accomplishments spread through the colony. Villagers who had initially mocked her now approached with cautious respect. Lyra greeted everyone warmly, never boasting, never acting superior. She offered advice, shared her knowledge, and even taught children how to safely handle drones and machinery. Slowly, the whispers about her appearance faded, replaced by admiration for her intelligence and courage. One evening, Elias and Lyra were surveying the ranch from the observation deck. The twin suns were setting, painting the Martian sky in shades of pink and orange. Elias turned to her. "You've changed everything around here. The ranch, the people, even me, I think." Lyra looked at him thoughtfully. "Change is difficult for many people but necessary for survival. Mars does not forgive weakness or stagnation. Humans thrive when they adapt." Elias nodded, realizing how true her words were. On Earth, wealth or power might have been enough. On Mars, intelligence, adaptability, and resilience mattered most. Lyra embodied all of those qualities. The following week brought another challenge. A neighboring ranch, run by a man named Corvin, had always been competitive, but now he decided to test Elias. He sent a team to sabotage the water supply, thinking Lyra would be unable to respond. When Elias discovered the situation, he felt a twinge of panic. This could ruin us. We'll lose crops, livestock, everything. Lyra placed a hand on his shoulder. Do not worry. I have anticipated this possibility. We will respond quickly, and they will not succeed. She coordinated the ranch hands and drones with remarkable efficiency. Sensors detected the intruders, and Lyra remotely activated barriers and rerouted water supplies to prevent damage. When Corvin's team arrived, they found the ranch fully operational and heavily protected. Any attempt at sabotage was immediately countered by Lyra's strategic planning. By the time the rival team retreated, Elias was staring at her in amazement. How did you? Lyra shrugged lightly. Humans think ahead, we adapt, we plan for failure and prevent it. That is what makes us capable. Elias realized that this was more than skill, it was a trait that separated humans from the rest of the universe. She had turned potential disaster into a demonstration of human ingenuity. As the days passed, Lyra's presence on the ranch became indispensable. She devised ways to maximize energy efficiency, protect crops from storms, and even optimize the diet of the livestock using Martian-grown feed. Every improvement strengthened the ranch and the colony. Elias began to feel a shift in himself. He had expected a companion, someone to share his life with, but what he had gained was far more. Lyra challenged him, inspired him, and showed him the best of human potential. He found himself looking forward to each day, eager to see what new idea she had implemented or what problem she would solve next. One evening, as they sat together in the greenhouse, Elias spoke softly. "You've changed more than the ranch. You've changed my perspective. I underestimated people before, maybe even myself." Lyra smiled, her eyes reflecting the soft glow of the greenhouse lights. "Mars teaches lessons if you are willing to learn. The harshness of this planet shows what humans are truly capable of when they work together, think creatively, and never give up." Elias nodded. "I see that now, and I'm grateful for it and for you." Lyra's smile widened slightly, a hint of warmth in her expression. "The feeling is mutual. We make a good team. That is more important than appearances, traditions, or expectations. Real strength is in action, not labels." As they watched the Martian sunset together, Elias felt a deep sense of pride and hope. Lyra was more than a bride or a partner. She was a symbol of human resilience and intelligence. She had proven herself in every way that mattered, earning respect not through looks, but through skill, courage, and wisdom. And for the first time, Elias truly understood what it meant to find the perfect match. The Martian morning was calm and crisp. Elias Marlowe stood at the edge of the observation deck, watching the red plains stretch endlessly under the pale sky. He sipped his morning tea, thinking about the past few weeks. Lyra had transformed his ranch in ways he could not have imagined. Crops thrived, livestock moved efficiently, and even the drones performed better than ever. She had proven herself indispensable, yet there was still something that weighed on him. Despite all her abilities, he still could not shake the memory of the matchmaking agency's promise, a perfect bride meant to be glamorous and elegant. Lyra did not fit that image. Elias had long since learned to admire her intelligence and courage, but a part of him wondered if he had been tricked. Just as he pondered this, a communication alert lit up the console inside the main house. It was from the matchmaking agency. "Elias Marlowe," the message began formally. "We wish to inform you that due to a clerical error, your assigned match may not meet your initial specifications. Please review the attached documentation." Elias frowned and opened the files. He scrolled through documents filled with holographic images, charts, and personality profiles. One image caught his eye, a picture of Lyra with a label stamped boldly across it, "An attractive candidate joke profile." Elias froze. He stared at the screen, trying to process the meaning. The agency had deliberately sent her as a joke, labeling her unattractive to amuse distant buyers. His mind raced. They tricked me," he muttered. Before he could dwell further, Lyra entered the room holding a tray with breakfast. "Good morning," she said cheerfully, placing it on the table. "You look concerned. Everything all right?" Elias gestured to the screen. "Do you see this? The agency, they called you a joke." Lyra glanced at the image and then smiled knowingly. "I expected this would come eventually. You were curious, weren't you?" "I'm shocked," Elias admitted. "I didn't know they could do something like this. Why would they, and why didn't you say anything?" Lyra sat down, folding her hands in her lap. "Because I wanted to see your true character. They may have intended a joke, but I chose to use it as a test, to observe how you would respond, how you would treat someone who did not meet superficial expectations." Elias blinked, caught off guard. "A test?" "Yes," Lyra said, her voice calm and confident. "Appearances can mislead. Intelligence, courage, integrity, those are what matter in a true partner. I wanted to see if you valued these traits." Elias felt a rush of admiration. This revelation changed everything. Lyra had not only adapted to Mars, solved countless problems, and protected the ranch, but she had also outsmarted the agency in her own subtle way. I don't know what to say," Elias murmured. "You don't have to say anything," Lyra replied gently. "Your actions have already spoken louder than words. You trusted me with your ranch, you allowed me to implement my ideas, and you respected my decisions. That shows more about you than any superficial opinion ever could." Elias took a deep breath, feeling a mix of relief and awe. "You really are extraordinary, aren't you?" Lyra smiled, a faint blush coloring her cheeks. "Extraordinary enough to survive on Mars, at least." For the next few hours, Elias and Lyra reviewed the ranch's operations together. He realized that every challenge they had faced, the storm, the equipment failures, the sabotage attempt, had shown him her brilliance. And now, understanding her cleverness in handling the agency's prank only deepened his respect. Later that afternoon, Elias called the ranch hands together. "I have an announcement," he began. "Lyra was sent here as a joke by the agency. But what she's done for this ranch, for all of us, proves she is anything but a joke. She is our partner, our leader, and our friend. Do you understand?" The men nodded, some smiling awkwardly. Jerk stepped forward. "She's not just good, she's the best we've ever had. And I respect her." The other ranch hands murmured in agreement. The shift was clear. Lyra was no longer judged by her appearance but celebrated for her skill and intelligence. Elias felt a sense of pride swell within him. He had always valued strength, intelligence, and courage, but seeing it embodied in Lyra was something entirely different. Humans were capable of remarkable things, especially when they used their minds and hearts together. That evening, Lyra suggested a small celebration. They gathered with the ranch hands and a few neighbors, sharing food and stories. Lyra entertained everyone with tales of her childhood on Earth, of experiments with robotics, and her fascination with terraforming. Her humor, intelligence, and warmth made the gathering lively and joyous. Elias watched her, realizing something profound. Lyra had not only won his admiration but the admiration of the entire community. She had transformed the ranch and the colony without demanding recognition. Her power lay in action, not words or appearances. As the night wore on, Elias and Lyra found themselves alone on the observation deck again. The twin suns had set, leaving a calm, dark sky dotted with stars. "I suppose this explains a lot," Elias said, still smiling. "You turned what was meant to be a joke into this." He gestured to the thriving ranch, the happy community, and the bond they had built. Lyra nodded. "Humans are remarkable when they adapt, plan, and work together. I wanted to show that appearances are not the measure of value. Intelligence, resilience, and integrity are." Elias turned to her, feeling a sense of admiration and warmth unlike anything he had known. "You've done more than prove a point," he said softly. "You've changed everything for me, for the ranch, for the colony. And you've done it with calm, cleverness, and kindness." Lyra's eyes met his, reflecting the starlight. The world needs problem solvers, Elias, not people who judge by looks, but people who act, think, and lead. Mars is harsh, but it rewards those who can do those things. He smiled, feeling a deep sense of connection. Then I guess I was lucky to get you, even if the agency didn't mean it that way. And I was lucky to find someone willing to see beyond labels, Lyra replied. The next morning brought a new challenge. The Colony Council had sent a request for an urgent resource assessment. They needed detailed reports on water, energy, and food supplies across multiple settlements. Elias could have done it alone, but Lyra offered to help. Together, they worked to gather data, organize it, and create detailed plans for distribution and efficiency improvements. Lyra's knowledge of technology and systems allowed them to complete the task in record time. When the council received the report, they were astonished by its accuracy and thoroughness. Elias received messages of praise and requests for advice from other ranchers, all thanks to Lyra's work. Once again, Elias said with a grin, you've impressed everyone. Lyra shrugged lightly. I simply use the tools and knowledge available. Humans are capable of extraordinary things when they focus their minds and hearts. Elias watched her, marveling at the truth in her words. Humans had conquered space, survived harsh worlds, and built communities in places where survival seemed impossible. And here, on his Martian ranch, Lyra represented that human potential perfectly. By the end of the week, Elias realized something. The agency's prank, which might have seemed cruel, had revealed a deeper truth. It had shown him what truly mattered in a partner, and Lyra had surpassed all expectations. She was not only capable of surviving on Mars, but excelling, leading, and inspiring others. One evening, as they watched the horizon, Elias spoke softly. You know, I think the joke is on the agency. They wanted to send me someone they considered unattractive. Instead, they sent me someone extraordinary. Lyra laughed softly. Perhaps, or perhaps they underestimated humans like so many do. Elias nodded. Yes, humans, adaptable, clever, brave, and in your case, remarkable. Lyra smiled warmly. Then we agree. Mars is harsh, but humans, we thrive when we think, adapt, and act. Elias looked at her, a sense of gratitude and admiration filling his heart. He had found more than a partner. He had found someone who embodied the very best of humanity. And for the first time, he realized that the true meaning of the perfect match was not appearances or expectations, but intelligence, courage, resilience, and the ability to inspire others. Lyra had proven herself in every way that mattered. And now, with the prank revealed and her true abilities celebrated, there was no doubt. She was Elias' perfect match. The Martian sky had been unusually calm for several days, but the weather sensors began to blink with warnings in the late afternoon. Lyra stood beside the control console, her brow furrowed as she examined the incoming data. Elias, she called, her voice steady but serious. A massive sandstorm is forming in the northern plains. If it shifts direction, it will hit the ranch directly within 12 hours. Elias joined her, scanning the readings. The storm was larger than anything he had ever seen, a swirling red wall of dust and wind that could easily destroy the greenhouses, damage equipment, and endanger livestock. How bad is it? He asked, a hint of tension in his voice. Severe, Lyra replied. Wind speeds could exceed 180 kilometers per hour. Drones alone cannot protect everything. We'll need a full plan to minimize damage. Elias nodded. He had learned to trust her judgment, and now more than ever he needed it. What do we do first? Lyra moved quickly, her mind already organizing the response. First, we secure the livestock. I'll coordinate the drones to guide them into reinforced shelters. Then, we protect the greenhouses by adjusting the energy shields and adding temporary barriers. Finally, I'll implement an emergency water distribution plan to prevent leaks from the pressure changes. The ranch hands arrived immediately, sensing the urgency. Jerk, who had once doubted Lyra, now followed her instructions without hesitation. "All right, team," she said, addressing everyone. "We move efficiently, work together, and follow the plan. Everyone has a role. We can do this." Elias watched in awe as she organized the operation. Her commands were precise, clear, and calm, giving everyone confidence. He realized again why humans could thrive even in the harshest conditions: coordination, intelligence, and teamwork. The first task was the livestock. The robotic cows and goats were already programmed to follow her guidance, but she also instructed the ranch hands to lead the more stubborn animals. Within an hour, all livestock were safely inside reinforced pens. Next, Lyra turned to the greenhouses. She moved from dome to dome, adjusting shields, checking structural integrity, and deploying temporary sand barriers. Elias assisted where he could, but Lyra's knowledge of Mars' environment far surpassed his. She calculated wind resistance, predicted weak points, and reinforced vulnerable sections before the storm could hit. Outside, the sky began to darken. A faint red haze appeared on the horizon, gradually growing into a swirling wall of dust. The wind began to pick up, rattling the structures and sending sand whipping across the plains. "Time to implement the emergency water system," Lyra said, her fingers flying over the control console. She rerouted the water lines, ensuring that pressure fluctuations caused by the storm would not burst the pipes. She even created a backup system using spare tanks and pumps, just in case. Elias felt a surge of admiration. Not only was she prepared, but she had anticipated multiple failures and created contingency plans. Lyra was demonstrating human ingenuity and resilience at its finest. As the storm approached, the wind howled across the plains, carrying fine dust that cut like tiny knives. Visibility dropped to almost zero, and the temperature fluctuated wildly. The drones patrolled the perimeter, adjusting for gusts and maintaining protective fields around key structures. The storm was relentless. At times, the greenhouses shook and dust infiltrated even the most secure areas. But thanks to Lyra's planning, no significant damage occurred. The livestock remained calm and safe, and the crops were shielded from the worst of the sand. Hours passed, and the storm raged. Elias stayed close to Lyra, helping where he could but mostly observing her calm focus. She never panicked, never lost control, and never doubted their ability to survive. At one point, a drone malfunctioned, its navigation system damaged by the wind. Lyra quickly took control remotely, rerouting the drone and repairing the programming in minutes. "Problem solved," she said without raising her voice, as if it were the simplest task in the world. Elias shook his head in amazement. "You really can handle anything," he said. Lyra smiled faintly. "Mars demands it. Humans survive because we adapt, think ahead, and act decisively. The storm is powerful, but preparation makes it manageable." As night fell, the storm reached its peak. Lightning-like static crackled across the dust clouds, and the wind slammed against the structures. Elias could see the strain on the equipment and felt a twinge of fear, but Lyra remained steady. She moved from console to console, monitoring the systems, issuing orders, and making adjustments. Every decision was deliberate, precise, and effective. Her calm confidence inspired everyone on the ranch. Even the neighboring settlements, aware of the storm, sent messages of gratitude and admiration for the preparation she had implemented. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the storm began to subside. The wind lessened, the dust began to settle, and the red horizon slowly emerged through a haze. Lyra let out a deep breath, finally allowing herself a moment of relief. Elias approached her, smiling with admiration and relief. "We made it," he said. "Yes," she replied, her voice calm but tired. "Thanks to preparation and teamwork." They walked through the ranch together, inspecting the greenhouses and livestock. To Elia's relief, there was minimal damage. A few minor repairs were needed, but nothing was lost. The storm had tested them, but Lyra's foresight and human ingenuity had turned a potential disaster into a controlled situation. Later, as they sat in the main house, Elias reflected on what had happened. I've seen many storms, many challenges, but I've never seen someone handle one with such precision and calm. You're incredible, Lyra, she smiled softly. I am capable because I trust in preparation and intelligence. Humans are remarkable when we combine knowledge, action, and courage. The storm was a test, and we passed it together. Elias realized something important. It was not just Lyra's skill that impressed him. It was her ability to inspire confidence, to lead, and to turn fear into action. Humans had a unique quality, the ability to face danger with intelligence and teamwork, adapting to survive where others might fail. Lyra embodied that quality perfectly. The next morning, the sun rose over a calm, quiet ranch. The greenhouses glimmered with moisture from the storm, and the livestock grazed peacefully. Lyra was already at work, checking systems, repairing minor damage, and making improvements based on what the storm had revealed. Elias joined her, carrying tools and supplies. We learned a lot from this storm, he said. Yes, she replied. Challenges teach lessons. Every obstacle reveals strengths, weaknesses, and opportunities. We can now improve the ranch even further. Elias watched her work, feeling a deep sense of respect and admiration. Humans were capable of extraordinary things, thinking, planning, creating, and leading in the face of danger. Lyra was living proof of that potential. As the day progressed, neighbors arrived to check on the ranch. They marveled at how well prepared everything had been. I don't know how you did it, one said. That storm would have destroyed anyone else's ranch. Lyra smiled politely. We prepared. We acted. Humans thrive when we think, plan, and work together. Elias felt pride swell in his chest. Not just pride for the ranch, but for humanity itself. Lyra had shown him that human ingenuity and courage were unmatched, even on a harsh world like Mars. That evening, as the sun set behind the distant cliffs, Elias and Lyra sat together once more on the observation deck. The red plains glowed softly in the twilight. You know, Elias said quietly, I used to think the perfect partner was someone glamorous or elegant, but now I see it differently. The perfect match is someone capable, intelligent, and courageous. Someone who can face challenges and inspire others, and I've found that in you. Lyra's eyes met his, reflecting both the fading light and a quiet warmth. Then we are both fortunate, she said softly. Challenges will always come, but humans endure because we act, adapt, and work together. We thrive. Elias nodded, feeling a deep sense of gratitude. He had not only survived the storm, but had witnessed the strength of human potential firsthand. Lyra was more than a partner. She was proof that humans could rise above challenges and turn adversity into triumph. And on Mars, under the twin suns and endless red plains, Elias realized that they were ready for anything the universe could throw at them, together. The Martian morning was bright and clear, with the twin suns rising over the red plains. After the storm and the challenges of the past weeks, Elias Marlowe's ranch was more alive than ever. Greenhouses glimmered with carefully nurtured crops, robotic livestock moved smoothly across the fields, and the entire ranch hummed with the quiet efficiency of systems Lyra had designed. Elias walked through the main yard, watching Lyra coordinate the day's activities. She moved from drone to greenhouse to livestock, her calm authority evident in every action. She was a perfect combination of intelligence, courage, and efficiency, a human who could adapt and thrive in the harshest environment. Good morning, Elias said warmly, approaching her. Good morning, Lyra replied, smiling. The systems are running optimally, but I have a few suggestions to increase efficiency even more. Elias chuckled. Of course you do. You always do. Lyra's presence had become central to the ranch. She was no longer just a helper or a companion. She was the mind guiding its growth, the heart inspiring its people and the force ensuring its success. The ranch hands had long stopped questioning her orders. They now respected her not because of appearances, but because of results. That day, a message arrived from the Colony Council. They wanted Elias to host a demonstration of advanced Martian ranching techniques. Other settlements were curious about the methods he and Lyra had implemented. The request was ambitious: showcase crop efficiency, water recycling, livestock automation, and energy optimization, all within 2 days. Elias glanced at Lyra. "We can do this, right?" Lyra studied the plan carefully, already organizing her thoughts. "Yes, but it will require precise coordination. We must show not only the systems but also the human capacity to manage them." For the next 2 days, Lyra led the preparation. She created demonstration routes, programmed drones to showcase automated tasks, and trained the ranch hands to explain their work to visiting officials. Elias assisted, but he mostly observed, letting her expertise guide the process. The day of the demonstration arrived. Representatives from neighboring settlements and the Colony Council arrived in their transport shuttles, curious and slightly skeptical. They had heard of Elias' ranch and Lyra's work, but few expected what they were about to see. Lyra began the tour, calmly explaining each system. She demonstrated the automated irrigation system, showing how it adjusted to soil conditions in real time. She led the visitors through the greenhouses, pointing out energy-saving techniques and soil health monitoring. The visitors watched in awe as drones guided livestock with precision, repaired minor equipment autonomously, and even assisted in harvesting crops. Lyra explained each process clearly, emphasizing human intelligence, foresight, and adaptability as the driving force behind the systems. "Impressive," one council member said. "It's not just the technology, it's how you integrate humans with machines." Lyra nodded. "Machines are tools. Humans are the planners, the thinkers, and the problem solvers. Together, we achieve efficiency and resilience." The visitors were thoroughly impressed. They asked questions, took notes, and even offered proposals to implement similar systems in their own settlements. Elias felt a swell of pride, not just for the ranch, but for what Lyra had accomplished. Her brilliance had not only saved the ranch, but now had the potential to benefit the entire colony. After the demonstration, as the visitors departed, Elias and Lyra walked together across the red plains. The wind was calm and the sky glowed with the warm colors of the Martian sunset. "You handled that perfectly," Elias said. "I don't know what I would have done without you." "You would have managed," Lyra replied, "but together we make it stronger." Humans are remarkable because we can think, adapt, and cooperate. The ranch is proof of that. Elias looked at her, his heart swelling with admiration. "You've proven that appearances mean nothing. Intelligence, courage, and adaptability matter far more. And you embody all of them." Lyra smiled softly. "Then perhaps the joke the agency intended was never really theirs to tell. Humans reveal their worth in action, not labels." Elias nodded. He thought back to when she first arrived, labeled as unattractive by the matchmaking agency. Now he realized that the label had been meaningless. Lyra's brilliance, humor, and courage were more important than any superficial measure. The weeks following the demonstration were busy but rewarding. The ranch thrived, crops flourished, and livestock grew healthier than ever. Other settlements sent requests for advice and collaboration. Elias and Lyra worked tirelessly, side by side, building systems, mentoring others, and sharing their knowledge. Even the ranch hands, once skeptical, now followed Lyra's lead with trust and respect. They had learned that intelligence, preparation, and adaptability were qualities that mattered more than tradition or appearances. Under her guidance, the ranch had become a model of human ingenuity and perseverance. One evening, Elias and Lyra sat together in the greenhouse, the air warm and fragrant with the scent of Martian-grown vegetables. Elias looked around at the thriving plants, the humming drones, and the quiet efficiency of the ranch. "This place, it's everything I ever hoped for," he said. "And more, you've made it possible," Lyra smiled. "We made it possible. Humans working together can achieve remarkable things even on a world like Mars. I only applied my knowledge and skills." Elias took her hand, feeling a deep connection. "You've done more than that. You've changed my life, the ranch, and even the community. You've shown what humans can do when we think, adapt, and act." Lyra's eyes met his, reflecting the soft glow of the greenhouse lights. "Then perhaps we are both fortunate. We found strength, intelligence, and courage in each other. That is the true measure of a perfect match." Elias smiled, feeling a warmth he had never experienced before. "Yes, the perfect match. Not in looks, but in ability, character, and partnership. And I've found that in you." The days that followed were peaceful, yet full of purpose. Elias and Lyra continued to expand the ranch's systems, improving water recycling, enhancing crop efficiency, and integrating new technologies. Their partnership was no longer about appearances. It was about trust, respect, and the shared drive to build something extraordinary. Neighbors and colony officials often visited, eager to learn from their success. Lyra shared her knowledge freely, teaching others how to adapt to the harsh Martian environment, emphasizing the importance of human ingenuity and teamwork. One day, Jerk approached them, a rare smile on his face. "I just wanted to say I've never seen anything like this. You've turned the ranch into a model for the entire colony, and you've done it together. Respect." Lyra nodded. "Thank you. Humans achieve greatness when we cooperate, plan, and act with courage. That is the lesson we all share." Elias watched, filled with pride. Humans truly were remarkable, capable of surviving and thriving where others might fail, and Lyra was living proof of that potential. As the sun set on another Martian evening, Elias and Lyra walked together to the edge of the observation deck. The red plains stretched endlessly before them, peaceful and promising. "You know," Elias said quietly, "I used to think I needed wealth, land, and status to be fulfilled. But now I see it's about partnership, trust, and shared vision. You've shown me that." Lyra smiled softly. "And you've shown me that humans can achieve extraordinary things when we act together, face challenges, and never give up. The ranch is proof of our potential." Elias reached for her hand, holding it gently. "Then we've both found what we were looking for. Not in appearances or expectations, but in capability, courage, and heart. You are my perfect match." Lyra's smile deepened, a warmth in her eyes. "And you are mine. Together we can face any challenge, adapt to any situation, and build something remarkable." The twin suns dipped below the horizon, casting the Martian plains in soft twilight. The ranch hummed with life, a testament to human ingenuity, perseverance, and partnership. Elias looked at Lyra and felt a profound sense of hope and gratitude. The journey had begun with a prank, a false expectation, and yet it had led him to something far greater than he had imagined, a partner who embodied the best of humanity. The colony thrived, the ranch flourished, and Elias and Lyra stood together, ready to face the future. Mars was harsh, unpredictable, and challenging, but with intelligence, courage, and partnership, humans could thrive anywhere. And under the twin suns, surrounded by the red plains and the thriving ranch, Elias and Lyra knew one truth above all. They had found their perfect match, not in looks, not in expectation, but in the extraordinary potential of humanity, working together to create a better future. Mars was their home, the ranch their kingdom, and their partnership a shining example of what humans could achieve when they adapted, persevered, and inspired others. The perfect match had been found.